Welcome back to the Wildlands Off-Grid, and today I'm looking at a very cool product for off-gridders, van lifers, boat people and travellers generally, and it's a special adapter for Starlink. So one of the biggest game changers in off-grid world, and for those living remotely or travelling, was the advent of Starlink, particularly as Starlink do an RV version for those of you on the road. And in our case, we've got Starlink mounted on the roof of our shade house. But one of the biggest complaints from almost everybody using Starlink is why did they not release it with the option to run it in 12 volt? So XTAR have indeed provided a adapter, for want of a better word, that will convert your Starlink to run on 12 volt, which is an absolute game changer. That means that, put simply, you could run your Starlink off a power bank such as the Jackery, Bluetti and so on. You could run it off your cigarette lighter in your vehicle or boat. You can run it off your off-grid solar system, plugging it into a 12 volt cigarette lighter or straight into a 12 volt battery. It's really easy. So it's not going to be a very long video because the product is absolutely superb. I literally took it out of the box. It took me less than a couple of minutes to plug it all together. It's super straightforward. So it comes with a very simple set of pictorial instructions, which is here. And as you can see, there's a number of plugs that you need to do. So let me just very quickly talk you through those. So this is the main part, akin to a transformer. It's got two holes at the top, so you can mount it to the wall of your van, vehicle, boat, or in our case, the side of our shade house. And then you've got four inputs or outputs. So you've got a 12 volt output, a LAN output, a 48 volt output, and a 10 to 30 watt DC input. So this is a router. It's a standard router, but it is provided with the XTARLink kit. So your router has a LAN cable that goes in the back. You've got a number of additional sockets, including a WAN socket. And the LAN cable goes into the LAN input on the XTAR transformer. You then have a 12 volt output, which powers said router here. And then on the other side of the transformer, you've got a 48 volt output, which is here, and that goes to a small little box, which is what your Starlink dish plugs into. And then we have a DC input here, which is your cigarette lighter input. And as well as this lead, you also get a battery lead, so you could take it from the input socket here, and instead of going to a 12 volt cigarette lighter, you could go to a 12 volt battery directly. So very, very simple, literally as long as it takes you to plug those bits in. You then use the adapter here, which I'll show you in a minute because it is attached to my Starlink. You plug in your Starlink dish, you then power it all on. Very easy to set up the router, and it's literally as simple as that. In my case, plugging it all together wasn't at all complicated, and I plugged in the Starlink. And Starlink usually takes a few minutes to boot up. It did that still, and I checked on my Starlink app and I was all fully connected. And I then logged into the router and I changed my username and password from the standard router one to one more applicable to the Wildlands. So, game changer, running Starlink on 12 volt. I like it. So in the dark and dingy recesses of the back of the shade house, we have very dusty Starlink router here, which is now disconnected, and we've taken the Starlink dish, we've plugged it into the little adapter that I mentioned to you a moment ago, and then what we need to do is take the lead that I showed you also a moment ago and just plug that into here like so. And what I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to screw this onto the wall here using these two screws. And the same with this, it has another screw hole so that I can go next to it. It'll all be neat and tidied up. And then we'll take our 12 volt power, plug it into our inverter. With the flashing screen of my phone, you'll see here I've got Wildlands 12 volt. Change the username to be more Wildlands specific. And I'll just hit to log in, connected. Have a look at the settings. Signal strength is excellent. And my link speed is 300 megabytes per second. Job done. So if you head down to the description of the video, I'll put all the necessary links in there to XTAR so that you can get hold of a 12 volt adapter for your own Starlink system. But an absolute game changer really. And sorry, such a short video, I can't really make the video longer because it was so straightforward to set up. Worked straight away out the box, truly plug and play, really pleased with it. So worth mentioning that I plugged it into one of our power banks and it was using 55 watts, which is fairly standard for Starlink. That can rise slightly if the dish is lining up to a satellite up in the sky, and that would maybe use up to 120 watts, but more often than not it's using between 45 and 55 watts. So absolutely brilliant. So if you were remote, you could take your mobile Starlink and carry it with a power bank up into the hills. And it's also worth mentioning again that the lovely people at XTAR, they provide you with a case to put your dish in and a bag to carry the equipment, so you could indeed go up into the hills and take it with you, or go off remotely with Starlink and power it from a power bank. So that's very good, and again great if you're on a boat as well, so that you can power it off 12 volt. So once again, massive thumbs up from us, and thanks very much for watching a very brief but outstanding product review for off-grid living or van life or boat people. And we'll see you very soon from the wildlands off-grid. Ciao!